Hey, what's up, lightboltjoe here. Today we're going to discuss the brand new 2024, 24, 23? Where's my year? 24, there we go. Uh, Film Snack Shack. So this is 1991, Nebraska City, summer of 91 in Nebraska City. Two best friends, AJ and Moose, are on schemes. They're gambling. They're doing this. They're doing that. They're 14 years old, about to start high school. These ain't no middle schoolers. These ain't no freshman kids. These are definitely kids in their 20s playing 14, and it's interesting because they're doing things, they're saying things, they're interacting with individuals more like they're seniors graduating high school rather than they're just middle schoolers graduating middle school. In comparison, you have what was that middle school show with Jacob Tremblay, middle school movie, Bad Boys or something like that? Those were middle school kids doing middle school stuff. These are not middle school kids doing middle school stuff. These are adults doing schemes and things. It was a weird dynamic getting into it, right? But then you're getting into it, and then if you just pretend that they're not 14, pretend that they're the age that they actually are, whether they're just the end of high school, beginning of college, something to that extent, as the actors actually are, it makes a little bit more sense how they interact with each other, how they're speaking. But again, this is a time period piece. So this is 91. So maybe that's how 14-year-olds in 91 Nebraska actually interacted with each other. I don't know. It just didn't seem real. Aside from that, putting that aside, you have these individuals, they're now the renters of this snack shack at the local pool. And so that's the premise of the film, right? They're going to make all this money back that they put into it and blah, 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 this and that. They owe a lot of people money, etc. They have enemies in high school already that didn't even start high school. They have an older friend, Shane, who is just back from the military. Shane is played by Nick Robinson. And I just talked about this in the way, way back review that we talked about, that sometimes individuals need older teenagers, guys, need older male influences to like show them the ropes and stuff. This worked for me, and we're gonna do this and hang out and talk about life and stuff, right? It's just that camp counselor kind of older friend aspect. It's explained in this particular film. Shane is older. Nick Robinson's character is much older than them, and they're all family friends. So that's why they've all known each other. They've all been friends all these years because they grew up together, etc. So it was a nice older friend dynamic, which we just talked about way, way back. So it's neat seeing this in coming of age stories. It's neat also seeing this in now summer films. This is a summer film. So the first half of this film is specifically a comedy. And then there's a moment. And then the rest of the half of the film is drama. This was pitched as a comedy drama film, a dramedy. And most of the time when you have a dramedy, you have a balance of comedy and drama. This was very specifically, beginning of the film was funny, I laughed, and then the rest of the half of the film was very sad because things happen and a character dies, and it's a matter of how do we move on together, and, I'm sorry I got mad at you for liking the same girl, and the girl ruins the friendship trope that we've seen a billion times. But this was heavy drama at the end. Did not expect it. Loved it. It was gorgeous. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful wrap-up of the story. But I would have liked more of a balance between comedy and drama throughout the entirety of the film. The film is an hour and 51 minutes long, including credits. That is too long for the story that was presented to us. This should have been an hour and a half. Would have been perfectly fine. Certain scenes definitely dragged out. But I loved the aesthetic of it. I love the 90s vibe. I love the music. I love the clothes. I love the hair, the way that they all, were just out and about, living in the moments. There's no cell phones. They had their, giant radio to hit the buttons with, to put cassettes in, and it was a timepiece. They talked about a phone in a bag, which was earlier cell phones back in 91. So it was neat. It was neat having those things. But another thing I find interesting is a lot of modern early 20-year-olds, Gen Zers, have that 90s aesthetic. The hair, the crew socks, mid-calf, the baggier shirts. So you're watching this film, and it doesn't seem like it's an actual 90s film, specifically because of how the teens and 20-year-olds have adopted their own recycled fashion from 30 years ago, which is just what happens. Things recycle every 20, 30 years. But it was strange because watching this, it didn't feel like they did much for these actors. It felt like that was actually their hair. It felt like that was actually their clothes, that they just happened to, like, come in from a break and then do the scene and then go back into the real world, and nobody bats an eye because it's a timepiece. But that's how the kids look nowadays. I don't know how else to explain it. It's just modern fashion is very 90s. That's the only way I'm putting pieces of this puzzle together. Beautiful story. I wish it had balance to it. Comedy and drama, I wish was balanced throughout. It was very boom and boom. I wish it was shorter, but still a beautiful, beautiful ending, beautiful film, and it was a fun watch. It was fun. It was entertaining. It was a nice coming of age story, and that's all I got. So we did a marathon. We did a summertime marathon. We're going to start our next marathon of things. I got to go down my list and catch myself up on what's next. But Snack Shack 2024 heavy ending of a film. On to the next review. Mucho mahalo.